Hi everybody, we're gonna start learning how to do pop art faces. The idea is you're going to learn how to draw a correct proportion of a face, and we're going to try to create it in a pop art style, which usually involves dots and colors, and they're very bright and bold and have really kind of fun attributes and different things about them. But to make sure that it's really successful, you need to make sure that you learn how to draw a face correctly. So what we're gonna do is we are going to take a piece of paper and we're gonna draw out a face. Every face, whether you know it or not, has a particular proportion. And so we start with an oval. And you can always adjust it later as you need to. But from the top of the oval to the bottom, your eyes on your face are about halfway down. So that's where your eyes would be. From your eyes, your nose is halfway from your eyes to the bottom. So it'd be about here. And your nose and your chin, about a third of the way down, is where your lips are. Now the middle of your face, I usually like to make a really nice little line down the middle just to kind of show like where the center of the face is going to be. Now when we go to do the eyes, a couple of cheater tricks that I always give is when you're making eyes, first figure out kind of where you want it to be. So that could be one eye. And then a way that you can do it is if you can use your pencil and you can measure so that you know that the eyes will be about the same size. So if I go to the other side, I can make sure that the eye is about the same size. Now, the one thing people always freak out about is trying to get their face perfectly symmetrical. Only 1% of the entire population's face is perfectly symmetrical. So the majority of us have one eye that is bigger or smaller or off to the side. So don't worry about trying to get everything perfectly symmetrical because it's not really realistic. Okay, so for the eyes, you're going to make it kind of like a squished football with like a little teardrop in the center, and that'll make it look like an eye, and that's like the little tear duct that you have in the inside. And I can already see I already made one eye bigger than the other, but that is okay. One of the other things you're going to do is you have the iris, which is the colored part of your eye. And then if I enlarge here, you have the pupil, which is the little black dot. And then a lot of times too, you'll have the spots around it where those little lines come in, and so I always make little lines, which up close it's gonna look kind of funny, but a lot of times too, once it's colored in, it will look more realistic, and so I'm gonna do the same to the other one. One of the things too that people always forget about is when light is hitting your eyes, because your eyes are not flat, there's always a light source. So I always find a spot and I make a little circle to show where the light would be hitting it, so that I make sure that when I color it, I don't color everything in. I know right now it looks kind of funny, but like I said, once it's colored in, it's gonna make a little bit more sense. We're gonna do some eyelashes. Most people think when you're making eyelashes, you go straight up out of your eye. Well, if you think about it, your eyelashes come out of your eyelid, not your eye. So we're gonna make a line above to kind of show like where the eyelid would be. And then one of the cool cheater tricks is we want the eyelashes to look like it's coming out of the eyelid. So instead of making a straight line, I'm gonna curve it so it looks like it's coming out from underneath that eyelid. Now the thing too that I always think is so interesting is the ones that look most realistic actually are not perfect. So like some of your eyelashes are longer than the others, some are shorter, and that's what's gonna make it look more realistic so it's not so fake looking, I guess. You have eyelashes in the bottom too, and so you're gonna do another line right here. And then these, what I usually recommend is from the middle of the eye out. I'm going to curve them so they go this direction. And then from the middle of the eye to the inside, they're going to curve the other way. That way it's going to make your eye look like it's more three-dimensional and it's not so flat, because we want something to look, even though it's in pop art, we want it to look more realistic. Okay, eyebrows usually will go up, and everybody's are a little bit different. But we can just kind of fill in where they would be. Okay, Now, your nose is approximately as wide apart as your eyes are. So if I make a mark, so I know this is where the tip of my nose would be, I'm going to make a mark from each side of the inside of my eye, and that's how wide my nose is going to be. The easy cheater trick is if you make a C, kind of like a stretched out C over here, a backward stretched out C over here, and then if you go up and then point down, so these would be your nostrils. So that's just a really basic one. If you want to make it so it looks more realistic or more three-dimensional, you can start adding in things. So like this is like where the side of the nose is so that you can see the nostrils. And then your nose, when your nose goes up, if you feel by your eyes, your nose does not connect to your eyeball. It actually goes up and gets skinny, and then it connects to your eyebrow. So what we can do is we go up and it gets kind of narrow here, and then it'll go up to your eyebrow. And same as on the other side. You can also add like a rounded like kind of bump here to show kind of like the point and the nub of your nose, and so that when you look at it, it's going to look a little bit more realistic and it's going to look more three-dimensional. The next step is we're going to make our lips. So right below the point of the nose, right above this line, so this is the line that's going to be the middle where your lips come together, and it usually is about as wide as it is from the middle of your eyes down. So if I make a mark, so that's going to be about how big my mouth is. Right above this, I'm going to make a V, and that's going to show where the dip down is in my lip. And then I'm going to connect it like this. So there's the top of my lip, and then the bottom comes down like that. Your ears always go right between where your eyes and your nose are, and they kind of look like, you know, kind of like a stretch out C. And then usually it has like a little half mark in the inside, so it looks like it's three-dimensional. Your chin, you always want to make sure you leave enough space for your chin. So one of the things that I like to do is I'll make a kind of a curved shape, and if I erase any of my guidelines, it'll start actually looking like something. And the cool part is whoever you're drawing, so if it's yourself, it's, you know, somebody you're seeing online, you know, whatever the case may be, once you have all the basics, you can go back and you can adjust the face shape. So maybe this face shape, I want to change it. I don't want it to look so like oval looking. So I'm going to change it so that they have a little bit more dimension to their face. Oop, that one. Okay. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the lines that usually go from your nose down for your cheeks. And so it kind of is like this. So it shows where your cheeks would be. And then we're going to add hair. Now when you add hair from your eyes to the tip top of your hair doesn't actually start way at the top. It actually starts about halfway down. Because if you think about it, if you touch where the top of your head is, your hair actually starts a lot farther down. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make girl hair on one side and boy's hair on the other, and then you can kind of decide what you want to do. So this one's going to kind of like swoop to the side here and kind of come down. Now, if you also notice on the sides of your ears, your hair doesn't stop at the top of your ear. It actually comes down a little bit, almost like sideburns. So you want to make sure that you have that on there. And then I can get rid of this line. And then if I wanted to, I can add in lines to show, you know, where the hair would be. The other thing too is when you're going to make your person, a lot of people will make a line across like this for the hair. Well, then it looks like you're bald on the back of their head. And so you want to make sure that you're incorporating the hair all the way up to the neck. So neck usually goes from the eye down, so about like this. And then your hair will continue on through there. So it will look like that. Now, doing a boy's hair isn't much different. It's just usually shorter, depending on the style. You can have like some parts like sticking up, or maybe it's, you know, I don't know, more shaggy. And then the sideburns come down just a little farther. And then depending, you know, if they have longer hair or if you see the hair behind the ear, you know, you can do things like that. So it's more so like this. Once the picture is drawn in, what you're going to do is, first of all, make sure that there's a body. So if there's enough space on your paper, make sure you incorporate a body. Now, shoulders, a lot of times people will make these teeny tiny little shoulders. If you feel how wide your shoulders are, they actually go out way past your head. So my shoulders would be about like out to here. So they go out quite a ways, okay? Now, with your picture, you have a couple of options. You can add in like a cool word bubble. Your person could be holding something. You could incorporate something in the background. It's completely up to you. What you'll do is outline it all in black Sharpie, and then you're going to color it in, and you're going to use different materials to fill it in. Now, the materials you use are completely up to you. It can be colored pencils, pencil shading, markers, magazines, oil pastels, paint, whatever you have around that you can use to do it. And then you're going to use at least 3 different materials to fill it in. So some of the examples, this one was done just with marker, but I wanted to show you in the inside, if you've ever looked at pop art, which there'll be examples attached, you'll be able to see where they use dots. And then in here, they're not even completely filled in. I have other examples that will show you different materials like ripped paper, marker, tin foil, different things that you can use to create your pop art. So the main focus though is to get the correct proportion. You can draw whoever you'd like. I recommend finding a reference image, whether it's you, a friend, someone online, whatever you would like to do. It's much easier than trying to just make up somebody and trying to draw it out. And then you'll be able to do it any way you'd like on the paper and any way you would like with your materials.